Welcome to the Trader a Traitors podcast. I'm Matthew, a writer working in unscripted TV development, and this podcast is dedicated mainly to English-speaking versions of the TV phenomenon, The Traitors. However, we also cover other reality strategy competitions like Genius Game and Million Dollar Secret. Most recently, the podcast also veered into other territory with The Traitors India. However, this season of the podcast is dedicated to the brand new version of the show, The Traitors Ireland. And so far on the pod, I've been joined by TV and movie buff Lindsay and musician and Traitors expert Magicker. Today, though, I am joined by someone very familiar to regular listeners of the podcast and to anyone who is a fan of US reality competition shows like Survivor or Big Brother. You probably know this person. It's the one and only reality TV guru, David Bloomberg. David,
Hello, how are
welcome
you?
back. It's been a while. I think you last joined me for Traitors India finale. That was probably the
Yes,
last time.
yes, I looked at my notes and I was like, oh, that was the last time, I guess. So,
Yeah, yeah.
there's a lot less swearing in this version. There's you know
Do you think?
yeah, especially when we found out what they were saying, not in English.
That's
that
true.
wasn't translated to the captions.
Yes, we did discover that the subtitles were not very honest in Traitors India, so I forgot about that. Sure.
Yeah.
Uh, now, David, in case, and I think we have some new listeners from Ireland, especially joining us for this season of the podcast. In case listeners don't know you, tell us who you are. What do you do?
Well, for anyone who doesn't know me, yeah, I've been covering reality TV for over 25 years, online in newspaper columns, on my own reality TV websites at the time. And as of next month, it'll be for 10 years on podcasts. In addition, I post reality TV videos on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram as at David Bloomberg TV. And, I'll just talk about the topic anywhere that anyone will listen.
And it looks like from social media, it seems like you are putting a lot of content out there, particularly about US Big Brother. So that
Yes.
seems very busy right now.
It is. It is. It is a very busy season. A lot of really dumb players, which ends up making for lots of weird things happening. And then this week, without spoiling anything, a really dumb move by production.
Ooh, okay, okay.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. It was funny because one of the people from who was involved in production of Genius Game UK even posted about how terrible this game design move was that the Big Brother. So there's this overlap there that was happening.
Yeah, weird mix of genius game, dumb move.
Yeah, yeah.
And speaking of really dumb players, Traitors Ireland. I'm kidding. I'm
Yeah.
kidding. That was a joke.
Wow. Yeah.
I like this cast. I really do. David, what have you thought of the season so far? You've caught up. We're about to talk about episode three today. How's it shaping up for you so far?
I I have to admit the season has not grabbed me as much as some others yet. It may be that it's just so early and we have so many people to get to know. I am amused by the Potty Andrew father son situation. I'm very much enjoying the sense of humor of Siobhan, the host.
Yeah.
I think she's bringing a lot to it. But as I was looking over the list of players again to refamiliarize myself, I started at the bottom. I scrolled up to the top, and I'm like, who, who's Amy?
I I had this moment. It took me all the way to the round table, and we were going round the votes this episode, and it reached Amy, and I suddenly thought, I don't know this person's name, and I had to check. So yeah, I feel like she's had almost no screen time at all. So
I,
yes, I
I
feel the same.
literally for a moment thought she was one of the people that was taken away, and I was like, no, that wasn't her. That was Gemma was the woman that was taken
Yeah,
away.
I even remembered Gemma's name easier than
Yeah,
I remembered Amy.
yeah.
Sorry, Amy.
Yeah, maybe she'll eventually show up. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, speaking of the players that were taken away, of course, uh, before this episode, I was like, huh, I wonder how long they'll be gone, because you know that they're not gone for good.
Yeah.
And it made me wonder, like, okay, I presume they have seen the UK version and maybe even the American version, and that they know they're not gone for it never feels good to be removed from a game that way because they could always change the rules. You you
Yeah.
you never know. That's what Big Brother found out this week. But uh still, you had to know they weren't gone for good, as
Yeah.
we will discuss as it turns out.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought the same thing at the time. Unless they really are gonna shock us, it didn't feel like too much of a twist. We've kind of seen
Right.
it a few times. And again, maybe there are people, maybe there are Irish viewers who are new to the
Right.
show, and for them, maybe it was exciting and new and different.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure
Uh,
there are. There are always things, I see this with more with Big Brother because there's the people who watch the live feeds and then there's the casuals. And the casuals often get surprised by things that the live feed people are like, I mean, even if they're not live feed people, longtime viewers are like, "Nah, yeah, we saw that
yeah,
coming."
yeah.
So, yeah, I had a couple of thoughts about recent episodes that I know some of this you've discussed, and some of it I just know that you were thinking too. Like Faye voted for Diane, I believe it was episode 2,
Hmm.
because David was such a good friend to me.
Yeah.
I've known him for 2 freaking days, maybe 3 tops.
Yeah, yeah,
He
we've
was
had a bit of
such,
that.
yeah, he was such a good friend to me. Um, and then I was going to talk about Vanessa crying, but we'll cover that during the show.
Yeah.
Um, and then Patrick being so sure of himself. This was a plan, and we were guided by the traitors. No, you guys managed to screw this up all by yourselves,
Yes,
which is
yes,
usually the case. It's not, especially at the beginning, it's not the traitors being like, we're going to get them and make them go this way. No, you just sit back and let them point at someone like they did with poor
yes,
Diane.
yes,
And, and of course, I think it was Vanessa also said about Diane, but I don't understand why she didn't defend herself more. Because if she had defended herself more, you'd have said, oh, getting awful defensive.
yeah,
You're in a lose lose when you're in
yeah,
Diane's situation there.
absolutely. I completely agree. And Magica and I talked a little bit about that. I think Niall as well said something along the lines of, "Oh, these traitors are so crafty. They're orchestrating this game," and I thought they're not really. They're just going with the flow. They're just like happy to let you all point the
Right.
fingers at people. They didn't
Yeah.
make you all pick Diane, so
Yeah.
yeah, they're
And then
overestimating the traitors a bit.
right. The other thing that stood out to me, and I wrote this before I ever turned on the episode, was Nina saying, I am who I am. I speak my mind. And my thought was, you need to change for the game.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Well, I
Uh,
guess we'll talk about that a little bit.
yeah, we'll
Uh,
talk about Nina.
yeah. Now, the final thing is it has nothing to do with the show itself, but I noticed that they put the hashtag up for the show. And usually, I believe it's like the Traders UK, the
Mm,
Traders US.
yeah.
This was Traders, so they dropped the, and it's IRL. Now, I don't know what
Mm,
Ireland is normally abbreviated as. I've never had cause to abbreviate Ireland. But to me, when I see traders IRL with IRL capitalized, I think traders in real life. Yeah.
yeah, I guess it is. Um, yeah, I think yeah, I don't know why it's not IRE. You would, but yeah, I think sometimes they it does tend to be abbreviated to that. I've never really thought about why, but
Yeah.
yeah, IRL. I hadn't even noticed the hashtag. Yeah,
It
yeah,
was the first thing that came up, I saw, I was like, in real life? What?
yeah. There you go.
So,
Uh, Now I said we are gonna talk about episode 3 today. Before we get there, I'm bringing back a little mini segment of the podcast because I feel we've got some news that deserves its own segment. This is TT News. There are some overnight figures for episode one, especially that came in, the Monday after episode one of the show aired. And I am quoting here that episode one of Traitors Ireland Series 1 had one of the highest ever ratings for a show on RTE, drawing over 600,000 viewers to the channel and then over 100,000 to RTE Player. Which doesn't seem like a lot, maybe, but Ireland has a small population. It had almost a 50% share. In other words, 50% of people watching TV at that time were watching this show, similar to that of live events such as the Olympics. And by Friday, that this was updated even further. The Traitors Ireland and Uncloaked together had reached 1.2 million people on TV since the Sunday. It is the most watched program of the year so far outside of sport. For 25 to 44-year-olds, an incredible 73% share amongst all TV, and it surpassed 500,000 streams in the first 5 days on the RTE player. Again, Ireland, or the Republic of Ireland, has a population of 5.4 million, not that different to Scotland. That's 22% of the population watching the show. That's huge. The equivalent for the UK would be like 15 million people watching the Traitors. And I think the series high for Traitors UK is like 8 million watched
Mm.
the finale of season three. And that was considered like huge, in this day and age, in
Yeah.
the age of YouTube and streaming and people falling away from live broadcast TV. It's a big deal. Or in the USA, that would be like 75 million people all
Whew.
watching one show. So a huge success. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they've already commissioned series two. They'll be
Yeah.
having talks at RTE like this is a hit, well done. We're let's get into pre-production already. So doing
Yeah.
very, very
Now,
well.
I wonder how many of those 500,000 streamings were people in Ireland on their computers.
Yes, through the magic of VPNs,
Yeah.
perhaps. Maybe we're contributing to that. Uh, Possibly, yeah, could be. In fact, I guess yeah, David was asking me before we were recording. The show isn't available on, BBC in the UK. Yeah, I am sure it will be at some point, but most UK viewers are just sort of gonna have to wait until the show is available there, unless you're using a VPN. It's not too complicated.
Hmm.
But yeah, very very big viewing figures, doing really really well. Very happy to hear it. So we are ready to get into episode three, I think. Here we go. To start with, we've got a recap. Of course, we began with 24 players, already down a couple. David was murdered, not you, David, Irish David. And Diane has been banished. If your name starts with a D, you might be worried. David and Diane. We've got a secret father-son pairing, Andrew and Poddy, which so far seems to be undiscovered, despite Andrew calling his dad Daddy. But no one seems to have caught on. And each one of our three traitors, Poddy, Eamon, and Caitlin, have come under at least some level of suspicion from other players. And as usual, we ended with a bit of a cliffhanger, a new murder. So we are going to find out, will the traitors have followed Eamon's plan to murder Patrick, who had very obviously targeted Poddy at the round table? Here we go. We start at breakfast. Father and son are first to arrive. They
Yes.
get their little moment to have a chat. Which instantly eliminates Andrew as one of the murder possibilities, because they,
Right.
they did
Yeah.
talk about him in the Traitor's
That
Dungeon.
that may come up again, the fact that someone mentioned his name.
Yes, yes. And Andrew has, yeah, he's already accidentally called Poddy
Hmm.
Daddy, and he's worried about each of them jeopardizing the other's game. And it's only now that he
He's
takes
not
the
all that
chance.
worried. We'll find out. But yeah, go
Yeah. He had a moment before with Poddy alone, and he told
Mhm.
us in episode one or two, "Oh, I didn't even ask my dad if he was a traitor."
Yeah,
So now he takes that chance and just outright says, you know,
yeah,
"Are you a traitor?" And of course, Poddy just outright says, "No, no, no, I'm completely faithful." Now,
yeah.
obviously, he's not allowed to say he's a traitor. He has
Right.
to lie. And Andrew, I get, would know that. He knows that even if his dad's a traitor, he's not going to tell him. But I guess you still got to ask and maybe assess
Gauge.
how
Yeah,
do they respond? Do they
right.
hesitate? Do they act weird? So it's worth still asking anyway, just to see how they speak, how they
Hmm.
behave. Andrew then tells Poddy that he has been a little bit suspicious of Caitlin. This ends up being a really important moment because Poddy instantly replies and says, "Oh, that's funny because Caitlin mentioned you." And I thought, what's he doing here? Is this deliberate? Is he trying to turn on Caitlin? Has he got some plan? Is it just a he blurts something
I
out?
mean,
It's the first thing that comes to mind.
I think it's a combination. I mean, it's not necessarily bad to plant a small seed against your fellow traders that can blossom later if
Mm,
you trust the person. So, like, I'm sure he trusted his own son not to go and directly talk to Caitlin and
yeah.
mention that Poddy said this. I mean, what kind of fool would go and do that, especially to his own father?
Well,
So, it's not I don't think Poddy made a bad move in this particular case by saying it. That's all
yeah.
I'll say about that for
Okay.
now.
I can't quite figure it. I feel like he just said the first thing that came to mind, which was to just go, "Oh well, she." I just don't
Yeah.
really think there was that much thought behind it. I don't know if it
Mm.
was some sort of plan. But I think we see that a few times with Poddy that he just panics and then doesn't really know how to save it.
Yeah.
We do also get Poddy saying in his confessional that he'd love to bring Andrew on board. I assume he means he wants to recruit him if he has the
Yeah.
possibility. Mark arrives in the next group with Caitlin. So we've got another possible murder victim
Right.
eliminated. So he's here already. Which means that they haven't gone ahead with Eamon's plan, uh, which is funny because they included it in the little recap segment at the start. So I thought they were
Yeah,
hinting something.
he was one of the like semi-official three that were possibly going to be
Yeah.
murdered. So I but didn't remind me, did Mark come in the final three the previous night, the previous morning?
Oh, you're testing my memory. I'm not sure. So you
I
think maybe
feel
they
like
don't
he
want to do it again?
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, you might have.
I also thought that was a terrible plan by Eamon. Oh yeah, nobody would think that you would go after the person who has been. It's like no, they always think that.
Yeah,
They always think both things at the same time. They say, oh well, obviously he wouldn't do that, but he would. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like so no,
yeah.
that would have been a terrible plan.
Yeah, you're kind of just giving them ammunition to
Right,
discuss one way or the other, and at least some of the players will that will be good enough for them to vote for him.
right.
So nice for Eamon, easy for him to say, but
Yeah.
Poddy, I don't blame Poddy for not wanting to go along with that plan. There's even a moment here. Mark comes in and Poddy has another little joke with him, asking,
Hmm.
"Hey, do you still think it's me? Still suspicious?" Something like that.
Yeah.
More players arrive, including Nina and Nick, and they have a chat about Patrick being so sure that Nina's a traitor. And they're saying, why is he so confident? You can't ever be that confident in this game. And apparently, they their perception is that Patrick didn't seem shocked when David was murdered at the first breakfast. Whether or not that's just
I mean,
their interpretation, I don't know.
right. I mean, it's Patrick's own fault. He is bringing attention to himself by, as they said, being so sure in a game where they're right. They're absolutely right. You can't be that sure. But some
Yeah,
people they get in there and they're just like, I know what's going on. No,
yeah,
you don't. No,
yeah.
you absolutely do not.
Unless you're a traitor.
Right. Right.
Of course. But yeah, we see it all the time. People 100%. I know they're a traitor. I know they're faithful. You don't. You don't.
Right.
Sorry. Cue Patrick arriving in the next group, in fact. And there's some general theorizing around the table about who might be murdered next, who's going to come in, who's at danger. Some think it's going to be a girl this time. And next, at this point, Faye, Vanessa, and Niall are the final three who haven't arrived yet. I'm assuming Vanessa's fine because the traitors didn't discuss her in the dungeon last
Hmm.
night, so I kind of feel like it's going to be Faye or Niall. There's lots of speculation before the door knocks, and in walks Faye and Vanessa.
Hmm.
Meaning, meaning, David, my second murder prediction was correct. So in episode two of the
Hey.
podcast, I predicted David correctly in episode one, and I predicted Niall as well. So I was pretty smug with myself here. And we've got a flashback to the traitors, and they don't say anything that surprising. They like the way that David's murder played out. They think it
Hmm.
shocked everybody, and they just want to do the same sort of thing again. So pick a popular player who everybody assumed would be safe and get rid of
Yeah. I mean, basically, if you do well on a mission, you're toast. So what they're telling people is
him.
don't do well.
Yes,
Don't do well. And I know there's going to be some later discussion of it, but people are like, but it's about the money. Would you? Da, 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 da. If you watch this show, the money will get there one way or the other.
exactly. Yeah.
And what are the odds that they're going to have another mission that involves the need to speak Irish in particular?
Yeah, exactly. It's out the way now. It's done.
Yeah.
We think. Who
So,
knows?
yeah.
Uh, Yeah, I have similar thoughts, and we'll probably come back to later. But yeah, some of the players are placing way too much importance on missions and how well
Hmm.
you do in them, when in actual fact, they don't really matter that much, I reckon.
Yeah.
So we see Niall receiving his letter. He says it feels so early. It does. That was my Niall impression. Which doesn't sound that different to a Scottish accent, probably. He's happy he got his chance to do his Irish mission, and he wants Michelle and Andrew to do well. That's all we get of him. Back at
Hmm.
breakfast, the players are furious. And yeah, here's where Oyen and Faye say they just can't understand why people who are good at getting money in the missions are being murdered. I've been over this on the pod. To me, it just makes no difference.
Right.
And I think even if it did, as a traitor, your overall strategy of making it to the end of the game totally outweighs keeping in players who might bag you like a few hundred extra euro because they're
Right.
good at running or something. I just don't think it would, as a trader, I don't think I would take it into consideration. Like it wouldn't be enough reason for me to keep someone around. Who cares?
Right. I mean, all we have to do is, not to jump ahead, look at the mission this time. Wow, lots of skill was involved in the mission this time.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
so yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, the producers of the show are not going to have people fail missions over and over again and get to the end with a pitiful prize money at the end.
Hmm.
They're setting it up so that you can kind of win every time.
Right.
And if in doubt, at the final mission, they'll probably chuck in a whole bunch, 20,000 euro extra or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I noticed that a lot of the time when they were discussing the 50,000 euro prize, they weren't saying up to. They just kept saying 50,000 euro, 50,000
Mm,
euro,
yeah,
and it's like, hmm,
yeah. Yeah, it's probably going to be pretty close to that in the
yeah,
end, if not 50,000 exactly.
yeah.
So, at breakfast, Michelle is devastated. She and Niall had become very close, apparently. She says she's disgusted again. She said that about a couple of things in this show. She's disgusted.
She's easily
And
disgusted.
Linda notices something. She was already suspicious of Caitlin.
Well,
She called her out really early on, and she
notices in
she
in inverted commas, as you would say.
yes. She spots that Caitlin is like very caring and comforting towards Michelle, but then
How
Linda
dare
thinks
she?
she's like, why is she being so nice to her? So she thinks that this is very intentional, and it's very. yeah, purposefully faithful-like behavior.
Yeah.
Uh, I
I,
know. I
I
mean, like maybe I guess Caitlin is a traitor, so maybe she's right.
right. I mean, she's right, but I think it's one of those accidentally right things,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
no
maybe.
matter what you do, it can be twisted again to your preconceived notions. So
Sure.
if Caitlin had not been comforting her, which this is the way I thought it was going at first, because when Linda started talking about Caitlin, they showed Caitlin like reaching in front of her and grabbing a pitcher. And I thought she was going to say, Caitlin doesn't even care. She's busy drinking her
Yeah,
water. But instead, it was, oh no, she's grabbing the water for her to help
yeah,
comfort her. But I guarantee you, if she had not done it, Linda would have said, it's terrible. It shows she didn't care because she's a traitor.
yeah.
She's just using her preconceived notions to interpret what happened. And again, is she right in this case? Yes, because as we've talked about before, it's a TV show. All those confessionals where people say things that are totally wrong and have no bearing on the story, they just throw them out.
Yeah,
So, yes, you're only going to hear about the ones that are either pointing at the real traitors or like the people who are likely to get banished.
exactly. Yes, yes. Siobhan arrives next, and she says, "What a reward for doing well in the mission. It's almost like you don't like money."
Yeah.
Which, and I know we know that's not the case,
Right.
but it made me laugh.
Yeah.
She chats a bit and gives them their clue for the mission. She says, "You're gonna have to dig deep for this one," and she sort of tuts at them and walks off dismissively, which made me
Well,
laugh.
and also she very carefully puts down Niall's picture. Like she cared about him more than David, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, I noticed that too. So she's horrified at what they've let happen.
Yeah.
Off we go then. Well, it's post breakfast. We leave. We're having chats around the castle. Michelle, to me in this episode, at many points, seems to have something we've talked about on the podcast before, David. She has main character energy. She
Yes.
she thinks the traitors got rid of Niall because he was close to her, and she told him all of her theories. And I thought, okay, there's like 20 other people here. I don't know if the traitors care that much about your theories more than anyone else's. She does something like this a bit later. I can't remember what it is,
Yeah.
but it's in my
Later,
notes
yeah,
somewhere.
I think that's I was looking for my notes. I'm like, wait, where yeah, they're later because later she even misuses the logic even more.
Yeah, yeah,
Like later she says something like, it must have been this or this. And you will get to it. And I was sitting there watching going, uh, no,
yeah,
no, there's many, many other options. So yeah, she
exactly.
definitely main character energy describes it perfectly.
Yeah. Some of the women are chatting about Christine because they're unconvinced by the way that she said goodbye to everyone last night. They think it was too obvious. And but I think they sort of made that mistake with Diane. They thought Diane was too excited in the morning to see
Right.
everyone, and that didn't work out well. So I don't know if they should maybe be learning something here.
And David, made the joke about Diane. It's like
Yes, exactly.
poor Diane taken out by a joke
Yeah,
as he was
yeah.
leaving.
Michelle also questions Vanessa's tears at the round table last
Yes,
night,
this
and
is
I
yeah.
think you were gonna probably say something about this. After Diane revealed she was a faithful at round table,
Hmm.
Vanessa was really upset. She defends herself by saying, like, I was just overwhelmed. It's a really intense situation. I wasn't crying because I was like really close to her and genuinely upset. She's like,
Right.
it just was an intense situation. That's all.
Yeah, and she even says, I was one of the people pushing it. I obviously wasn't that close to her. But yeah, I mean that makes more sense than what I was left with at the end of episode 2. I would have thought the same thing that a lot of these people did about why were you crying? That looks so odd.
Yeah,
But it
yeah,
turns out no, okay, there was a reason, and she's better now.
yeah.
So
But I guess if you can, you still have to maybe just rein things in, and
yes,
if you can, wait till you're back at your lodge, burst into tears when no one's around.
yeah,
Anything will bring attention to you like this.
right.
So if you can keep control, I guess you got to try everything you can. Nick is in the kitchen and he repeats this thing about he says I want to keep the money makers in the game as long as possible. Who cares? And he he brings up Eamon, and he talked about Eamon really early on, like
Hmm.
really soon after the traitors had been selected. He thought Eamon was acting differently. So he's back to Eamon, and he says it's an itch that he wants to scratch, and he's going to address it at the round table tonight. Which, spoiler, he does.
Yeah.
Andrew then is this moment. Andrew pulls Caitlin aside to address what his dad told him. He's like,
I-
"Hey, obviously he doesn't say dad. He says Poddy. He's like, "Hey, Poddy said you mentioned me." Um, and she's livid. She denies it. Joanna's even walking by, and she's like, "Joanna, you back me up, back me up. I have to." I mean, like as if Joanna's been with Caitlin at every
right.
single moment of the day, but
Right.
but
Yeah.
she's really annoyed at this. But yeah, I I don't know why Andrew's doing this to his own
This was,
dad.
I mean, yeah, like I said earlier, it's just a dumb move. And it's like, first of all, why in any game like this, if someone gives you information, you don't turn around and give that information to the person in question unless you're like tightly aligned with them. And there's no reason to think that Andrew and Caitlin are tightly aligned. Quite the contrary, as a matter of fact, because Andrew was the one who brought her up to
Yeah,
his dad.
yeah,
So you never go to her. What are they going to say? Oh, yeah, yeah, I mentioned your name. I totally suspect you. I want you
yeah.
gone. No, there is no benefit, especially when it's your dad.
Right. I mean, unless all I can think is if maybe he really strongly feels Caitlyn is a traitor, but she is. And he thinks if I catch her out and say, "Hey, Poddy said you," maybe he thinks he's going to test her and she's going to get really
Well, then
flustered and
he's dumb
then
about that
use
too.
that.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just, oh my god, it's such a bad move without
yeah,
the father aspect of things,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and that just makes it like 100 times worse.
yeah. So
And I have a
I,
son named Andrew, so that makes it even worse for me. So
yeah. So yeah, I think it's all. This is not leading anywhere good for Poddy, is what I
no.
reckon. No, I
Well,
at this moment, well, yeah, yeah, on you go.
I was gonna say you may have been getting to it. Also, is then she asks him like, "Who do you suspect are the traitors?" And he lists his own dad.
Yeah. So I don't know where Andrew's head is. I'm not sure what to believe. And I can't tell if Caitlin has mentioned his name to someone as like, pretending that she's suspicious of him. Either way, she's furious with Poddy.
Well,
Um and
I
yeah, Andrew goes on to say, he's like, well, I think there are four traitors.
right,
Nina, Linda, Poddy, and Mark. And I don't know if he I think he's just laying it all out. I think he really does think those four. I don't think it's some like plan to trick her.
right.
I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, Well, he doesn't know what he's doing. Um, when Potty said it originally, I was like, no, she mentioned that to you in the conclave.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
that
that
didn't occur to me. So
it did. I mean, it helps that I watched all three episodes back to back to back. And we've seen other seasons, don't quiz me on which ones, where traders accidentally say something they forget was said in the conclave and they mention it as, something they heard.
yeah,
So that's why I was thinking that right away. And, spoiler alert, turns out, that is indeed the case. But still, it's like you should be able to trust your own son with information. I understand it's a game of distrust, but Poddy's over there in confessional saying I would sacrifice my game for his, and Andrew's over there saying essentially I would sacrifice his game for mine. You know,
yeah. Well, at least they're on the same page.
right? Yeah, yeah,
Maybe they had an agreement. No, that I was going to say they had an agreement before they went in, but see, they're giving us the impression they didn't know the other was
yeah.
going to
They
be
at
there.
least claim they didn't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe that people who are that close would not have even mentioned that they applied for the
Yeah.
same show. And
I
oh,
think they
hey,
probably,
son. Hey, son, I'm going on a trip for a couple of weeks. Really? Me too. You know,
yeah. I mean, I bet they knew they were both applying, but they just didn't tell each other they had actually made it through like the final round and they'd been cast for sure. So maybe they knew they were in the process, but they
I,
neither of them knew the other one had been confirmed. I don't
I think they both knew and they had to lie for the sake of keeping it up
know.
for production,
I
because
guess, yeah.
production probably told them, you can't tell anyone, even your son slash father.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when they got there, oh gosh, I was so surprised.
Yeah. So we are ready to head towards our mission for the day, and we're in the cars. Caitlin is talking to the people in her car. I think it's just Linda and Eamon about this Andrew Poddy situation. I I think it's a good idea for her to do that, to sort of get people
Hmm.
on her side and like, hey,
Right.
yeah, you won't believe this. Guess what Poddy did? So she's getting in there first before he can do it. Meanwhile, Faye, who is sitting beside Andrew, very weirdly suggests maybe there's a secret family pairing in the game. Oh, and they even make jokes. Ireland's so small, there must be connections between some of us. And it's really odd because in another car, back in Eamon's car
Yeah.
with Linda and Caitlin, they're having like a really similar conversation because Eamon makes a joke and he goes, "Yeah, Poddy's my father," ha 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 ha, and they all
Yeah.
laugh. Like, is it just a coincidence? Were they prodded by something? Like, I don't think so,
I,
but were production saying like, "Hey, have you had a chat about this?" I don't think they would do that, but
I don't think so. I think probably someone before the missions must have brought this up as a joke. And so when they
yeah,
split off into their cars,
it's
yeah, this reminded me of the UK season where, you had Diane and Ross, and you had someone else positing that a person was her son. And then we cut to the scene where Diane says, well, he's not my son, but Ross is. And it was such just a great TV moment. I understand why they couldn't do it this time, because they had all the interaction between the two of them beforehand.
yeah.
But it would have been hysterical if they had like duplicated that situation.
Exactly. What's really funny as well is I know it's not the same country, but it's the same island. Is that Diane was Northern Irish, so there's like a funny connection there as well. Yeah, it was weird that they were all talking about it, and funny that we have a similar situation going
Right.
on. So we arrive at our mission. We're out of the cars, and we have these hooded people in the woods. The players are all freaked out. And it's funny because in a previous episode, in fact, episode one of this season of the podcast, I was asking Lindsay, my co-host, "Hey Lindsay, I've never really thought about this properly before, but who are these people supposed to be? Like the people with the robes and the masks?" I was like, "Are they like minions of the traitors? Are they the ones who carry out the murders? Like, what are they actually? Who are they?" But now Siobhan refers to them as monks, so I'm like, "Oh,
I
is that what they are?"
I feel like we've heard them referred to as monks in previous
Oh,
seasons.
okay. Okay, this has
Um,
passed me by. Okay.
I think, if I couldn't definitively say it, but I believe that we have.
I mean, why they're wearing gold masks, I don't know. Maybe it's some religious sect I've never heard of. But there we go. There we go. They're
Or
monks
more likely,
now.
it's just scary and allows them to pay extras a lower wage because their face doesn't look their own.
Exactly. So they're kind of part of this mission-ish. The mission is well, the monks have lost their gold. They're buried around the woods, and each gold bar is worth €20, which doesn't seem like very much, but there are 200 bars,
Yeah.
and that totals €4,000. However, they don't have shovels, they'll have to improvise, and they only have 15 minutes. Oh no, off they go. They come up with a strategy of having like a daisy chain, pass it back and forth. Seems smart. Okay.
Hmm.
I don't know if it works all of the time in the mission, but
I mean, they
it's
have some of the people who are not necessarily the best runners at the back who have to do the most running.
yeah, yeah,
So, and even Siobhan makes a comment about, I thought the whole point of a daisy chain was that there had to be an end point, or words to that
yeah,
effect.
right. Poddy goes for a little bath in the river. It's it's it is quite a distance along to this mound where the bars are buried. seems pretty dangerous, actually, quite slippy.
Mhm.
Lots of them falling over. Yeah, some of them are throwing bars, some of them are running more than others, and they're they seem to, well, as the mission was happening, I thought, oh well, they're getting a fair amount in the chest,
Mhm.
and also these gold bars are just like little pieces of wood, sort of spray
Yes.
painted gold.
Yeah,
It's
I know. I was going to say you could see the grain on the wood in the close-up shots.
yeah,
And you see people carrying like 20 of them at one time, or, at least 10 of them at one time. Like if those were gold, they would not be able to do
yeah,
that.
yeah. So sort of broke the illusion a little bit there.
Yeah.
Um, I
Gold
unlike
plated bars.
gold plated, yeah. Maybe there was gold within the wood. I don't know. Um, well, as I was watching it, I thought maybe this mission it genuinely is timed. Maybe they really do only have 15
Hmm.
minutes. Until Siobhan is yelling that they all need to get back to the beginning, and they get there with 5 seconds to go, and they apparently found all 200 bars perfectly. Then I thought, oh, maybe we are being tricked a little bit through the magic of television.
Never,
Uh,
never. They always, production always does so much good research that they know exactly how long it will take.
yes, of course, of course. So she refers to the monks again, and she makes this little comment saying, "Oh yeah, they're kind of creepy, aren't they?" And
Hmm.
here's where the penny drops for me. I thought, why is she? The mission's done. Why is she still talking about them? And she says, in fact, to make it less creepy,
Yep.
take down your hoods. I know what's coming.
Right.
It's Gemma and
Exactly.
John from episode one. Uh, and yeah, again, that if this is the first time you're watching the Traitors, this probably was a fun little surprise. Oh, they're
Right.
back. Oh my goodness. If you've seen at least one other version of the show from the UK or the US, the more I wonder, what is the point of this? Like, what's the point of sending people away just to bring them back and
Oh, well, I
reintroduce
mean,
them
the
to the
point is that
game?
you can have what, 24 contestants, but not overwhelm viewers with all 24 of them at once. I mean,
Yeah, I guess,
I
yeah.
really think that's it. I mean, imagine, we didn't know who Amy was. I barely know who Christine is.
Mm,
I could go through this list with a couple other ones. But imagine like Joanna. I don't really remember Joanna. Um, so if you go through and add two more people in there, it's just harder to track. I
mm,
think it's really a production standpoint way of, hey, here's how we're going to have this many players in there without, overwhelming people. It's kind of like for the upcoming Survivor 50, where I think they also have 24 players, which they've never had that many on a Survivor game.
mhm,
People are wondering, how are you going to have them all there? And I don't think they're going to pull anything like this. I think part of it is it's a returning player season, so you already know them, so you don't need to introduce them.
yeah.
But uh, yeah, it'll be interesting to see who do we not even hear from, for the
Mhm.
first couple of episodes when that comes around.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I hadn't thought of it that way. Uh,
And you're the
I
one in
should.
TV production.
Well, I'm in TV development. By the time it
Oh,
gets to
develop.
production, I just hand it off to other people. They make it happen.
You're like, develop a show that has 24 people. What you do with them after that, that's up to you.
You figure it out.
Yeah.
This is no longer my problem. So the thing is, though, that Gemma and John won't both be returning. Only one can. The existing players have to vote with these gold bars in speech marks. Each player has to sort of justify why they should be brought back with a little speech. John says, "I'll be loyal. I won't be a sheep." And I thought, that's a little bit of a contradiction. I'll I'll be loyal and I'll be independent. Maybe. And he says, I won't be jumping to any conclusions. And I thought, you kind of have to do that in this game.
Yeah.
You have to pick somebody at the round table, so at some point you will have to jump to a
Yeah.
conclusion. And he says he'll be good at the games. Little does he know that in this particular season of the show, that's not a good reason for anyone
Yeah.
to pick you now.
Well, it
And
is as a
Gemma,
shield. Pull them
well,
in as a shield.
yes, I guess. Yeah, yeah, actually, they probably maybe that's why they choose him. Yeah. Uh, Gemma, on the other hand, says that she's creative and she can think from different perspectives and think of different possibilities. And she wants to be pushed out of her comfort zone and integrated into the group. I think maybe I missed what she said. I think she sort of implies she like works alone or spends a lot of time alone, so this is new for her. So
I mean,
she's kind of
she's,
going for the emotive approach,
yeah, she's an artist and
a
a
holistic.
holistic therapist. So she's the closest to the
Yes.
psychic that we
Yeah.
have here.
Yeah,
So, of course,
exactly.
I was rooting for her not to be voted back in. But um, I mean, we really don't know anything about her. So,
Yeah. Poor Gemma.
uh, it's
Um,
kind of like on Big Brother US, there's someone who is an aura painter,
ooh.
and she has so far in the game completely misread a couple of the worst people.
Okay.
Uh,
Has she
so
painted
it's
any auras yet?
She has not. They don't really have a lot of paints in the Big Brother
Oh.
house. They don't have as many activities as I think the UK Big Brother has. But like she's still talking great things about someone who has been viewed by everyone watching as so bad that they didn't even have him do exit interviews
Oh, okay. Oh dear.
because they knew he'd get raked over the coals. And then he finally did some by email, so it could be totally controlled. And it looked like a politician's PR person wrote them. Like, I have, like this guy, literally every other word was an F bomb with him. And yet in these answers, it was, I will do my best to learn from this situation and grow from it. It was the typical politician caught sleeping with his
Yeah.
mistress type of
Yeah.
situation. I mean, he wasn't, but I mean, that's the way it looked like. And it was obvious the answers were not written by him.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and yet the aura painter still thinks he's this wonderful man. So,
Oh dear. Maybe Gemma needed a speechwriter for her here because
yes,
it
yeah.
doesn't work. Poor Gemma. The votes. I was kind of trying to keep track of who put
Hmm.
gold bars in which box. Like
Yeah, you're better than me. I didn't even
most
bother.
of them. On her side, Gemma had Nina, Andrew, Michelle, Oyen, Vanessa, Eamon, whereas John had
Everyone
Patrick,
else.
Christine. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think there were a couple I couldn't quite see.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. There's no point in me listing them because it probably is pretty much everyone else. And yeah, Chris. Even when Christine's putting in her vote for John, she says this. She's like, "We've already lost Dave. We need strength in the missions." And I
Yeah.
thought, you just completed this entire mission perfectly without Dave. Like, so how much strength do you think these
Right.
challenges are going to require? Like, they're not built, they're not creating missions for you guys that you're not going to be able to do without really physically strong people. So calm down.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, sorry, I'm jumping a little ahead here, but this leads to the next question I'm so eager to ask you. That's why, which is okay. So they vote him back in,
yeah,
and Gemma goes away,
bye bye, Gemma.
supposedly never to return.
Mm,
Do we think she's gone for good, or will she be back? Because here's the thing: this is something that a lot of commenters have said on our YouTube videos, and a lot of people have said elsewhere. That hosts will come back and say, well, the rules of the game are you can only leave by being banished or murdered. So, of
mm,
course, this person was not gone. Are we going to have that same situation? Or are the rules slightly different? They're allowed to change I mean, they change them ahead of time. They're not allowed to change them mid game. But, you know, I mean, that's like in Big Brother US. The only way you get voted, you get removed from the game is you get voted out or you do something so horrible. And yet, there was a surprise eviction this week in US Big
mm.
Brother where neither of those things happened. So,
Yeah, I think Gemma is gone. I don't think she's
oh,
back. So I think this series is yeah,
mm-hmm,
they're playing it their own way and doing what they want with the rules. And I guess I shouldn't give out names and spoil things. In the most recent UK version, there was a player who left via another method. So they
mm,
weren't banished and they weren't murdered. So there is precedent for this. So yeah,
right.
I don't think Gemma's coming back. I do think she has had her time. Maybe she'll get like a return pass for series two. Maybe she'll reappear in the cast at that point. I I I doubt it. So
I mean,
I think she's gone.
Yeah, it does suck for her. Whatever I, may
Yeah.
think of her job, it sucks. You come all this way, and then based on literally just first impressions, you're gone.
Yeah, it's a shame. Yeah, I feel bad. So Siobhan does her usual and tells them that, well, I'm saying her usual. This is only the third
Yeah.
episode. I'm saying the usual for a host of this
Right.
show,
Yeah.
and tells them that John may be a traitor or a faithful. He could be entering the game either way. And he's also brought a shield with him, and it's up to him to decide who he wants to give it to. And he says for now he'll keep it and make that decision later. And
Which
immediately they start bribing him with cups of tea and
Yeah,
stuff.
that was okay. That was a hilarious scene with everybody slowly, the women like all gathering around him in the room and the couch, much like the one behind me. And if there's an ottoman where a bunch of them
Yeah.
lie down and they're looking at him, then the guys come in, and it's just, yeah, it is a very funny scene where they're all trying to do this.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think we ever get official. Well, like at no point do they say, yes, he's a faithful. He just
Yeah.
doesn't show up in the conclave later.
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah.
we have to presume he's a faithful.
Yeah, that's right. We just sort of deduce he's a
Yeah.
faithful. Like, yeah, he doesn't ever say it outright. We there's not much in the
Mhm.
cars on the way back to the castle. It's kind of just the players, yeah, discussing the shield and John's return, and mainly talk about him being a fireman.
Yeah.
And yeah, back at the castle, not much chat before we head into round table. Yeah, just like you said, there Christine in particular is out to get that shield from John, while some of the men are they're trying to sort of get him on their good side, and yeah, he ends up with a sort of it's an audience with John,
Yes.
and there's not much. It's kind of just light-hearted, this little segment. There's not much strategy or discussion about the game before we
Hmm.
head to the round table. There's actually a lot more chat after round table in this episode. But here we're kind of right on into our banishment. So we're at the table. Siobhan tells us that the prize fund is now 13,800 euro. And she does another little sort of sarcastic, very proud of yourselves, aren't you? And reminds us that John is here but doesn't have a vote tonight and he can't be murdered or banished. So
which
he's.
which is interesting because usually in these twists they say he can't be murdered or banished, but he does have a vote. So I was happy that they didn't
Mm,
give him a vote because I feel like too often they give someone a vote who really has no clue and has no business
yeah.
voting.
Yeah, it makes sense that
Right.
what's he going to base it on?
Right.
So he has a day, I guess, to get to know
Hmm.
everyone and suss things out. Next time he'll
Yeah.
properly get involved in the game. Michelle begins the discussions. She's still annoyed at Nina. I mean, I think probably under the surface she's annoyed because Nina called her unapproachable. She didn't like it, but that's not the reason she gives, as far as we see. She says the
Right.
reason is that Nina brought up her name, and there's disagreement about who said it and who said it first and who said what to who, and it sort of goes round in circles.
Yeah, it's like Nina is like, I didn't bring up your name. Patrick said that I brought up your name. And
Yeah,
Michelle's like, okay, fine, you brought up my name. No, yeah, I didn't bring up your name. And then it was Patrick said that Faye said that, and it's this whole like,
yeah, yeah,
chain thing there. And then, yeah, Patrick's like, well, you were saying all sorts of different names, which is suspicious. That's
yeah,
right. You should just stay absolutely certain about someone like Patrick is.
yeah. He just is gunning for Nina. They just seem to be butting heads and have done from the start. Yeah, he doesn't like that she's been throwing too many names around too obviously.
Right. And he
Uh,
also thinks she's lying when she tells the story that in the car ride, she told him she was suspicious of
yeah,
him and he didn't respond. And he says it never happened. And at least someone finally pointed out and said, maybe he just didn't hear you.
yeah, yeah. And it
I'm
did
glad.
happen. We saw it happen. He just can't remember it or didn't
Yeah.
hear it. Yeah. So I kind of actually feel bad for Nina there. She's like, no, that did happen. He's
Yeah.
like, it did not. Yeah. I mean, it all seems a bit trivial to me. I think there are so many more interesting things that they
Hmm.
could be having a discussion about. But hey, Michelle keeps going, and this is the point where I again thought it's sort of
Yes.
main character syndrome. And I think this is maybe what you were thinking of earlier,
Hmm.
David. She says, last night, before we all went to bed, I told you that if I was murdered, then the traitors are setting up Nina. And if not, Nina's the traitor. And I'm still here, so Nina's the traitor.
Yeah.
I was like, why are you, what? What?
Yeah, it's all about you. You know, it's like there's zero logic to that claim. Like it must be true that these are the only two possibilities. It's night or day. That's it. There is nothing in between. And it's like, huh? But then she goes further to what I had missed it when she said it earlier, but she says it again here. Well, and I was close to Niall, so that's why Nina got rid of him. And it's like, so no matter what happened, it circled around, it focused on you, and Nina was the one who did it. You are the only two people in the castle.
Yeah. It's it's just this. I don't know why she thinks the Traitors campaign is focused on her and her relationships. Yeah, there's like 18, 19, 20 other players who could have been, but yeah, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, but
Um
she's the most impressive one. She's what
it's
was she, like a kickboxing champion or something like
yeah,
that?
yeah, that's right.
You
So
know,
I don't know.
so
Maybe it's a sort of sports person, competitive, used to being in the limelight sort of thing. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. Eamon speaks up to attack Oyen, which is really odd to me. He says,
Hmm.
"Oh, you're really lovely, but you're too quiet. You're just observing everyone all the time." And I think what Eamon's trying to do is he's trying to play this like middle ground game. Like he doesn't want to be too quiet as a traitor and never say anything. So he thinks, well, every now and then I'll throw something out there so it looks
Right.
like I'm a good faithful. Uh, I don't know if he's. I think he's going a bit too hard on someone, as far as we can see, that no one else was paying any attention to. So I actually think it just makes him stand out a bit more as doing something really odd.
Right.
I don't
And then
know.
someone, actually she says, I do share things. I just don't share them with you,
With you, yeah.
which is a good point. And then she also admits, and I thought Niall was a traitor, so I really didn't have much else to say after that
Yeah.
happened.
Right, right. And I think because Eamon has spoken up here, then he does draw attention to himself. So
Right.
Kelly comes into the conversation and she's saying she reckons he's switched tactics overnight. She says, "Well, yesterday I heard you saying that everyone ought to speak up, and you were looking out for people who were too quiet. But then this morning you changed your tack and you were telling people to keep their opinions quiet and they should only speak to those they trust." So she was like, "Something's going on weird with you."
Hmm.
And Eamon tries to defend himself and sort of talks himself in circles.
I thought
Then,
he actually had a good point. He said if he was a traitor, he'd want everyone sharing all their opinions, which is true.
sure, yeah,
You want everyone having everything out there, but other than that, yeah. It, I mean, Kelly's logic isn't exactly impeccable either. There's a middle ground here. You know,
mm,
yes, say things to people you trust, but say things.
mm,
That if you're not saying anything, but then it goes back to what Oyen told him before, which is, well, we are talking, just not to you.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And Nick also takes this chance to bring up
Hmm.
the point that he's wanted to bring up for a while about Eamon changing behavior post traitor selection. And and Eamon does the sort of classic, well, I think you're the traitor.
Yeah.
His defense is like, well, I've been suspicious of you too. And I think that always comes across as a little bit iffy. I don't know if it's the best defense.
Apparently not in this case, but yeah.
Although Nick, yeah, Nick later is like, oh yeah, you're fine now. I trust you. It's okay.
Mm.
So Nick, it works on Nick. Um, Vanessa then attacks Poddy, saying he's too quiet. She's saying it doesn't help the game, and he simply says, "Well, if I've got nothing to go on, I'm not going to speak up for the sake of it. I'm not going to name people if I really don't have hard evidence." And now Caitlin comes in and she brings up the Poddy Andrew situation. Uh-oh, she asks him to explain what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
And Poddy just doubles down. And he's like, well, I did hear you mention Andrew's name. And he claims it was in the kitchen. And he makes up this story. Yeah, you and me
Hmm.
were talking in the kitchen, and there were other people there. And she's like, "Well, who?" And he's like, "Oh, I can't remember, but they were there, and you were there, and it was the kitchen, and you said it, and other people heard it." And she
Well,
just
I think he
flaps
said
it.
other people might not have heard it because they
Oh
weren't in the
well,
conversation,
yeah,
even
yeah,
though,
yeah.
even, you know, and at that time, I'm like, again, I was thinking, oh, I wonder if he can't place exactly what happened because it was the conclave.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't it? It's
Um,
exactly what it is. So, yeah, Caitlin just she flat out denies it. She's just like, "Well, you're lying. Well,
mhm.
this I didn't say that, so you look like the liar here." And they argue back and forth until it seems like Siobhan steps in and moves to the vote. Uh, it's a funny vote for the first half of the table. It really seems
Yes.
quite scattered. And I think they probably engineered the reveal of the votes to give us this impression that oh, it's going to go anyway.
Yeah.
Uh, and then it becomes at some point it becomes obvious what's happening.
Right.
Um, so funnily, Wilkin is the first to vote, and it's only now that I realize, oh, he he had lots of votes yesterday, and now things have moved right on. No one is
Right.
talking about Wilkin anymore, and that
Right.
happens a lot in the Traitors. So he votes for Christine, which I thought was a little bit strange. I don't know why she's on anyone's radar.
Well, yeah,
Nina votes.
he gives a reason. I don't understand it. And she
Yeah,
says it
yeah,
doesn't make sense. But then Siobhan is like, the time for talking is over,
yeah,
which I think was funny because she didn't actually interrupt the end of their discussion by saying the time for talk is over.
yeah, yeah,
But now she uses it to shut down Christine. So I thought that
yeah,
was funny.
yeah. And I just like anytime the host tells them to shut up.
Yeah.
It just makes me laugh. Nina is next and votes for Patrick. Faye goes for Linda. Eamon and Linda both vote for Owen. Vanessa goes for Poddy. Ben votes for Nina. So it's just this huge mix
Hmm.
so far. It's really strange. Caitlin goes for Poddy, which is not a surprise because of everything that's just happened.
Right.
Mark and Oyen vote for Eamon. Joanna goes for Nina. So there's this sort of four-way tie at this point. Oyen has two, Eamon has two, Nina has two, Poddy has two. But then it all starts to go in one very
Right.
clear direction. So most of the next bunch of people, like Patrick, Poddy, Amy, Nick, Christine, Michelle, Andrew, all then vote for Nina. We've got one other in there. Kelly votes for Eamon.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone else at this point goes for Nina. And she's really devastated. She's crying. She stands up to give her speech and says, "You're all great. Great. I'm trying to do my Irish accent here. You're all great crack. Does this mean anything to you as an American, saying that people have great crack?"
No,
It's it means
nothing
like
good anyway.
yeah. I'm pretty sure it's spelled Craic, but pronounced crack and like crack cocaine or something
Yeah.
else. And actually, it's a really positive thing. Great crack means great chat, great banter, like great convo. It's like a really positive word. If somebody's got great
Yeah.
crack, they're like a great personality. So she's nice. She says, "You're all great crack. I came here to play a game and played it. I am and always have been a
Ugh.
faithful."
Ugh.
Your favorite phrase.
Yes.
Uh, just for listeners who are wondering, why is David shuddering at this? Because you can't become a faithful. You're either faithful from a start or you're not. Like so to say I am and always have been a faithful just doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
So the reveal's out there. Christine's devastated. They're all shocked. And Michelle, Nina goes off and Michelle's like, well, everything I said was true. I still stand by it, even though she wasn't actually a traitor. So she's
Yeah.
not backing down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Michelle just, yeah, she is never going to give up the ghost on this. And I mean, the thing is, from Nina's standpoint, she really did play too hard. I said it, I said I had mentioned it from episode 2. I am who I am. I speak my mind. And I was like, yeah, you need to change for the game. But
yeah,
she couldn't.
yeah,
She didn't. And well, that's going to get you banished.
exactly. So yeah, it makes me wonder how much of the show had she watched? Maybe she'd seen one series of it. But I
Hmm.
think if you're familiar with the show and you really analyzing it, you do realize that's not a good way to play. You can't get other people's backs up. You can't draw too much attention to yourself. You need to lay low most of the time. So we head off from the round table, and actually, I reckon quite a few things go on before
Yeah,
we head off for the night. So on the way out, Poddy gets Caitlin kind of alone. I mean, there are people walking back and
right.
forth.
Kind of like in the kitchen, quote unquote, where there were people
Yeah.
there but might not hear.
So he grabs her and he's like, "Oh, I messed up, and you did say Andrew's root name, but it was in the conclave, and I forgot that's where it was." Like, and it's so funny because I thought this doesn't make things any better. Like, you still
Yeah, I
want
mean,
her in it.
yeah, it
Doesn't
makes
matter
it
where she said it.
worse. It makes it worse, but he's trying to get her to stop questioning the details because the details would out them both.
Yeah,
And then he's like, "We just need to stop talking about it." And it's like, "No, it's not going to go away."
yeah,
And she says that, like, okay, now you've screwed up my game even more by coming up to me, which,
yes,
yeah, I don't know. I think it makes sense for him to continue the conversation afterwards. I don't think that it's that big a deal. I mean, we'll see if it, in later episodes, if it turns
yeah.
out that way. And then she kind of like puts on the act and says, very loudly as she walks away further, like, "I know I didn't say it." And,
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe she's worrying about it more than she should. Like she's like, man,
Mhm.
he just spoke to me in front of everyone. It's so obvious now that I'm a traitor. And I think, well, actually no, because he did it in a hallway where people are walking by. That's
Right,
actually less suspicious. It would have been
right.
worse if you were in a room and he closed the door and someone walked in or something. So actually
Yeah.
maybe this isn't too bad. Um I I do this is a really trivial point, but I just couldn't help but notice it. Poddy refers to it as the Conclave, but Siobhan, when she's doing the voiceovers and the narration, calls it the Traitor's Dungeon. So
Hmm.
it just is funny that even in the show, this one version, they're using different words for it.
Well, maybe they
Uh,
have a conclave in the dungeon.
yeah, maybe it's like okay, the dungeon's the physical place, the conclave's like the sort of
Is the
the
gathering.
abstract idea of
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Okay. Um so yeah, Caitlin's pissed off with Poddy. Meanwhile, Linda still has her eye on Caitlin anyway, and on the other end of the spectrum, John gives Caitlin the shield in secret. So he's convinced that she's a faithful, which is
Yeah.
really funny. Um Nick and Eamon have this sort
Well, I
of
wonder if he thinks that Poddy is
a, tr
a
a traitor.
traitor who is going to come after Caitlin.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Sure. Yeah, because I actually couldn't figure out, and I know we don't see everything, but I wasn't sure why he had decided to give it to her. Um, I don't,
I
yeah, I
yeah.
didn't see like a bonding moment. I don't know what she did that no one else. So yeah, maybe
Hmm.
that's the thing that made him think he was protecting someone. Uh, Nick and Eamon, yeah, we've already kind of mentioned this. They have a bit of a make-up conversation, and Nick's like, "Oh, Eamon, I get you defended yourself well, and now I'm not suspicious of you."
Yeah. He's like,
Um,
okay.
I mean, I don't know if I was convinced by Eamon,
Yeah.
but hey, I guess it worked in the room. And Caitlin, then, this is quite interesting to me, and I wanted to pick your brain
Hmm.
about this, David. Caitlin is alone with Joanna and Christine, and they talk about the shield, and she says,
Hmm.
"Well, I'm going to tell you. I've got my little shield here." She says, "I've got the shield," and she's like, "I can trust you. I can trust you, can't I?" And she says, "If there's no murder tomorrow, you'll know what is because the traitors came for me. They tried to get me." And I think that's a good move.
I
Like to make herself look really faithful.
yeah.
But I was kind of wondering, are there benefits to just telling no one? Or and waiting until breakfast tomorrow? Like, if she
I
was really
don't
a faithful, how does she know she can trust these two that she's telling
I
this to?
mean, you don't, but they may have had previous conversations over the past couple days that we didn't see, such that they're a little group.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and so for her to tell them, I think it shows that she trusts them, which of
yeah,
course they know they're faithful.
yeah,
So now they can trust her as being faithful as well. So I do think
yeah,
she has gained their trust by saying it, knowing full well. If you wait, if you truly are faithful and you wait till the next day and there's no murder, then you can triumphantly say, "Ha ha!"
Yeah.
Like I'm sure Michelle, if she had been given it, she would have held on to it and been ready to proclaim, "See, I am the main character."
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
but I mean, we've seen people like that. I'm trying to think which seasons recently, but we've seen people who say uh, things like, "Oh, there was no murder because they came after me because I had the shield," when in fact it was a recruitment that night
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
like that. I think it was the last UK, if I remember. But
Mm.
uh, so I do think it was a good move on her part, with her knowing she's not a faithful and her knowing the other two are faithfuls.
Yeah. Uh, I wonder if I wonder this is kind of connected. I do wonder if because we've not seen it in this episode, if people will be worried that John has come back into the game as a traitor, which always seems to come up with returning players. There's just always this sort of natural suspicion around them. I feel like they always end up getting banished because people just have this mistrust. Like, we don't know whether you came back as a faithful or a traitor. You probably are a traitor. Like, so, um, I mean, it's
Yeah,
dumb. It doesn't make, because anyone could be a traitor. It doesn't,
right.
there's no more chance of him being a traitor than anyone else, but I just feel like players always get really paranoid about it, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Um, so off we go to the dungeon where they have a conclave, and Poddy immediately is trying to defend himself. He says he was caught unawares by Andrew, and he forgot where he'd heard Caitlin say his name. Um, and again, I just thought, yeah, but you didn't need to say anything to Andrew about her. Like, this is just all your fault. You've messed up.
Well, I don't think it is. I mean, under normal circumstances, I would agree with you,
Well,
but
it's
it's
also
his
Andrew's fault.
son.
Yeah,
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 it's
yeah,
his son. He thought he could trust his son. He thought he was looking out for his son,
yeah,
and his son was stupid.
yeah,
Sorry
I
if you're
guess.
listening, Andrew, but that was dumb.
Yeah,
And your father should have, docked your allowance for it or something. I don't know.
yeah, no
Sent you
pocket
to
money
your
for you.
room. You're grounded.
Yeah,
Do you have to wear this
grounded.
dunce cap?
Yeah, I know tomorrow, if Andrew's still around, I would like Poddy to just out him as his son and then be like, "You're grounded. You're
Yeah.
not doing the mission today. Get back to your lodgings." Um, so I don't think Caitlin or Eamon are particularly impressed with Poddy anymore,
No.
and I just don't think
No.
they're buying anything he's saying. And Caitlin's like, well, I had to address it in front of everyone. I kind of had no choice. So,
Right.
what else was I supposed to do?
Yeah, I
I,
think that, and I hate to say this. How old is Poddy? Let me see here. I think he's older than I am, but not by much. Um,
like in his 60s, I'm
okay, by
guessing.
much. I mean, not by much, but yeah, he's 68. So he's
Oh,
significantly older
okay.
than me.
Yeah.
But he just he acts older than he is,
Mm,
even. Like I just feel like he's stumbling through the game a little bit. Like he's
mm,
not he's making careless mistakes, and he's being so quiet normally. I think he's just not picking things up as quickly as some of the younger people. And I don't like to say that because I always like to see older people on the cast.
yeah,
But I do think that he's kind of falling into that mold of, like misremembering where he heard this. Now, it could happen to
sure.
anyone. I just think the way we've seen him has not been great.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. Eamon even describes today as a shit show. And he's just like, this was a nightmare. Until there's a bit of a turnaround. Caitlin reveals that she has the shield, and this, yeah, it sort of lifts the mood a bit. And they're like, "Oh, hey, like, right, okay, we could use
Yeah.
this." Although I actually don't think it's going to make that much of a difference, but they're at least glad they've got some element of control. Like they're not going to
Right.
accidentally try and kill the wrong person.
Right.
So they have got free reign about who they choose now. She wants to murder a woman because she says, "Well, we've killed two men in a row. Maybe it's time to just." not do that. Although they have banished two women, so it's not like,
Yeah.
the numbers are probably still quite even. And we go through their options. They talk a bit about um, Vanessa, although I don't really know what the point is because they then instantly just say, no, as someone says, she's too hot on Caitlyn. Like, so she must have mentioned Caitlyn as a suspect.
No, she's too hot on Poddy. Eamon says that she's too hot on
Okay.
Poddy.
I misheard that. Right, right, right. Okay.
You're lying to
Um,
me. See? Oh wait, we're not playing the game. Okay. Uh, um,
so it would look suspicious if they then killed her.
right.
Okay.
Right.
And also apparently some other players are suspicious of Vanessa, so they want to keep her around. Maybe she'll get banished at some point.
Right.
Yeah, instead they agree, no, we just ought to go for a true faithful, as they
Mm-hmm.
call it. So someone that everybody universally seems to trust, or someone who has not much suspicion on them at
Right.
all, which comes down to Michelle, Faye, or Christine. Michelle, they say, well, also, she's a big character. She's got a big voice, main
Mm-hmm.
character energy, so maybe we just ought to get her out. They talk about Faye, and Eamon really brutally just says, Faye offers nothing. I
Yeah.
thought, whoa, okay, maybe true, but harsh. And Christine, they say that she's dangerous when she has her back up. I mean, I don't know what evidence there is of that, other than that maybe that's just her personality, and they think she could be
Right.
quite feisty, and if
Right.
she latches onto a traitor for
Yeah.
real, that
I
might
feel like
be
we
bad. I don't know.
we just haven't seen much. I mean, we've seen a little bit of her. Lord knows
Yeah,
we've seen more of her than Amy. But uh, this idea that oh, she's dangerous when she gets her back up. Okay, if
yeah.
you say so.
Yeah, and maybe she's popular and a lot of the women trust her. So yeah, maybe if she
Right.
names one of them, she'll bring her other allies in tow. I don't know. Um, the sort of the final words here are, well, Caitlin is saying, look, let's not overthink it. Let's not over-engineer it, she says. Let's just do what we've been doing, get rid of someone who's really influential. And they make their decision. They seem to be writing it down.
Mm-hmm.
And Patrick, again, in his confessional, says that their chosen victim will have a massive impact on the group. And there's also actually the final couple of shots, I think, are Eamon and Caitlin in their confessionals, implying that they're going to have to turn on Poddy
Yeah.
sooner rather than later. And
Yeah.
this is where our episode ends. Why don't we just begin with our predictions then
Okay.
for murder? So it seems like our options, unless we're being totally misled, are Michelle, Faye, or Christine. I am just gonna go with what I think is the obvious, and I think they'll get rid of Michelle.
Yep. Me too. I mean, they said, like you said, Eamon said Faye doesn't bring anything. Well, if she doesn't bring anything, then it's not going to be a big splash if they get
Yeah.
rid of her. Michelle is really the one who has been so out front. I mean, we've talked about her main character energy. Well, maybe her main character energy is about to get her eliminated as if she were a Star Trek red shirt. Um, and so, uh, I also, I just hope it's Michelle because she's been so wrong for illogical reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, part of me likes it when those people stick around because then they keep getting proven wrong, but she's never going to learn. I think it's very clear from this elimination. Like, even though she was wrong, she was like, but, this and this and this, and I still stand by this. Why was she so lying about things? It's like, she's never going to learn.
Hmm.
So be gone with you. Now, yeah, I have not watched Uncloaked. I suspect you may not have either. Do we
I
know
only
if they're
watched the first
okay?
one. I haven't watched two and three.
Okay, so you may not know the answer for this then. If they reveal who the traitors are.
I don't. I assume that they do, but yeah. And the thing is, normally I see the clips on social media just of those
Mm-hmm.
moments. I actually haven't seen any of those clips, so I that's actually a good reason for me to go and check out Uncloaked and see if they
Okay.
show us those moments. Yeah,
Because yeah, if they do murder Michelle, and then yeah, her reaction would be very good. Although I bet
yeah,
her reaction will be, "Yep, I knew it. I
yeah,
knew it."
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Okay, we're both going Michelle. I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes in other versions of the show, other franchises, we sometimes editing tricks us, and they have the traitors
Hmm.
saying things that totally throw us off about who the murder victim is going to be. But yeah, I'm still sticking with Michelle.
Yeah.
Um, what about looking ahead? Banishment next episode. I'm just gonna go with Poddy. I guessed him wrongly last time. I actually thought he would be gone in episode 3.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna stick with him till he's gone. So, yeah, I think he's in trouble at some point.
I know he's in trouble. He's clearly in trouble. I'm thinking he has a couple episodes left in him.
Okay,
Um, I think Eamon seems to have gotten most of the suspicion off of him. I think it's going to be like a random person.
okay.
I don't think it's going to be any of our main people. So I think we're looking at, as I'm just scrolling through the, the people here. I mean, it could be someone like it could be a Faye. I mean, they could circle back around to Faye, or who else was supporting Nina in? Well,
Oh, well, the people who didn't vote for
I
Nina,
mean, it could
were
even turn to Patrick, since Nina actually Patrick makes the most sense because he was
yeah,
so certain and
yeah,
Nina was wrong. I
uh,
think, yeah.
yeah. Patrick, Vanessa didn't vote for Nina. Linda, uh, um. Mark. I don't think anyone thinks Mark's a traitor. Oyen, Eamon was sort of attacked her at this round table. Maybe that's going to catch on. I don't know.
Hmm.
Kelly didn't vote for Nina. So yeah, it could just be some sort of random person that for some reason people latch on to. Maybe it comes back round to Wilkin. Maybe people bring up things from the very first round table. Hey,
Yeah.
we forgot why we voted for you and then we moved on. We're going to move back to you. Sometimes
You
that
know what?
happens.
Let's make it my official prediction, for the record books here. I'm going to predict Patrick.
Okay, Patrick. Uh, Patrick or Poddy, that's our guesses. And we've got listener comments. We've probably got some final thoughts about the episode. Which order should we do this in, David?
I'll just give you my final thoughts because they're brief. I do
Okay,
think
okay.
this was the most fun episode so far. It was also the messiest. And once again, Andrew, what are you doing? Go to your room. You know, when your dad mentions someone, you don't take it to that person. You shouldn't do it even if it isn't your dad, but especially if it is your dad. And right now, my wife is probably upstairs thinking that I'm on a FaceTime call with my son, yelling about how, what is he doing? So,
I'd love that.
yeah,
If after recording, she's like,
yeah.
"Whoa, calm down. Right? He's not that bad." Uh, yeah, my final thoughts are sort of a reiteration of what I've mentioned, at least on this episode. I think we are watching mostly players who are familiar with the format. Reminds me of Traitors India. Those players definitely knew
Hmm.
the show really well. Not all of them, but a lot of
Yeah.
them. And I think most of them, yeah, they get the game. However, it is this thing about the missions keeps coming up that some of the players are like, man, we need it. Can't believe they're getting rid of players who are good at missions. And I do want to sort of shake them and say, it doesn't matter. You're going to win money no matter what. The missions aren't that difficult. So yeah, that's kind of my final thought for this
Hmm.
episode. We have some listener comments rather than questions, I guess. This is from Zach on YouTube. And Zach has just noticed something about one of the players. Uh, David, I know you're saying you've not quite pictured everybody and their names perfectly yet. There's a player called Joanna. Joanna has like short black hair and glasses. And Zach
Yes.
says, Joanna shares an uncanny resemblance to Sarah from Australia season 2. The glasses, the hair. I was having flashbacks. And this is a semi-spoiler. He says, hope she doesn't end up like Sarah. And yeah, I remember Sarah well, for all the wrong reasons. So,
You know what? I see it now. I see I see the resemblance, and
yeah,
yes, I agree that
yeah,
yeah, that's a bad flashback.
yeah. We've got a few comments on Spotify. This is from Sarah. Sarah says, I was
Was that
seriously,
Sarah?
Not that Sarah. Well, if it is, I really hope she's not listening. I think this is an Irish Sarah. Um, Sarah says, I was seriously impressed with Magicker's knowledge of Gaelic and actually knowing some phrases and words. Wonderful. It's so rare that you find a British person interested in the Irish and its language and history of Ireland and its language. Great recap. Can't wait for episode 3. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, Sarah.
I mean,
Um,
you know what Irish I know? They're
oh, yeah,
coming
oh,
after me, Lucky Charms.
yes. Everyone in Ireland says that all the time. So, the Irish listeners
Sorry to
will love
everyone
that
in
one.
Ireland. I apologize to the whole country.
It's okay. I've been doing silly Irish accents all the way through this. In fact, speaking of my Irish accent, someone called Kasana on Spotify says has 4 points to make. One, love Magicker's Gaelic. Two, Matthew's Irish accent is this emoji.
Okay.
Okay, or I'm taking that as amazing.
Yeah. Ha!
Three. Now, three, Kasana says heavy historical bit, but historical context here. Kids were beaten for speaking Irish at school at the turn of the 1900s, and they needed English for a good job, etc. Um, to break a people with a slow genocide, you kill their language and culture. There's a huge resurgence in popularity in the last decade, shaking off post-colonial hangover, and the language lives. Hooray! And number four, love the podcast and keep up the good work. So thank you very much, Kasana. And a final Spotify comment. This is from Dell. Dell says, actually, we Magica and I had been talking about, and in episode 2 of the show, they talked about Irish people learning the Irish language at school. Dell says, actually, Irish people learn it usually for at least 13 years. There are exceptions. If problems have exempt you.
Mhm.
Sometimes maybe people with like dyslexia will not study a foreign language and they'll focus on other things. He says it, however, isn't taught well with not enough time or focus on usable spoken Irish. So although all the players probably do learn it in school, I guess once they leave, they forget it and they don't have like conversational Irish, so it just sort of fades away.
I mean, well, first of all, I make my Lucky Charms joke, and then you read these very serious comments about the Irish
Ah,
language. You could have warned me about that one there, Matthew.
it's
But
fine. The
but
listeners have a sense of humor.
um, I mean, I took not 13 years, but I took Spanish in school for a solid 6 years at
Mm,
least. And I couldn't hold a conversation in
yeah,
Spanish right now.
yeah,
I mean, there are a few words, but I would not have been very helpful, like in a competition, a mission
yeah,
like this one. I'd
yeah.
have gotten a couple of them, but that's about it. So
Si, senor.
yeah,
Uh,
that there you go. That one I know. It was funny because one time when I was younger, even I was in an airport and there was a vending machine that I had tried to use and it wasn't working. And then a woman came up and she tried to use it too. And I said something in Spanish like not working. Like I knew those two words. Right now I couldn't tell you, but I said not working. And she heard me because I she must have said something in Spanish to indicate to me I don't just randomly speak Spanish to people in airports. Um, and then because I said those two words, she started speaking to me totally in Spanish. And I was like, no hablo, no hablo.
No hablo español. Uh, Anglais, anglais. I don't know any Spanish apart from those four words.
You got it. Yeah.
Um,
The important ones. Donde está el baño? Uh,
sure. See. Uh,
that's
now
where is the
the
bathroom. That's
very
why you
important.
need to know that one. So,
Yes, yes. Now, if you are listening to this episode of the podcast before the 9th of September, 2025, I'm doing something very exciting on BBC Radio 2 on technically the morning of the 9th of September, but what will feel like the night of Monday, the 8th of September. It's half past midnight. I can't, so if you stay up late on Monday night, you till half midnight, there we are. I can't say too much about it, other than that it will be about the Traitors. I'll be live on BBC Radio 2, and it should be really good fun. You can listen online or, on an actual radio, if anyone does that anymore. You might have to go and sit in your car. And if you are listening to this after the 9th of September, you will be able to, as far as I know, catch up online on BBC Sounds, so you can listen retrospectively. Hopefully, I'll be able to get a clip to upload to the podcast social media as well. Speaking of which, David, tell us about your social media and where we can find all of this wonderful reality TV content that you're creating.
Yeah, I am all over social media and reality TV podcasting, like you said. Mentioned earlier, things have been rather crazy as I've been doing my weekly Big Brother 27 US Why Blank Lost podcasts on RHAP. Rob has a podcast network, or you can go to weknowbigbrother.com. I've been keeping an eye on the live feeds, doing a lot of TikTok and YouTube videos for different aspects of the show. I have even been doing mini versions, like 2 to 4 minutes of my Why Blank Lost videos for Australian Survivor, Australia versus the World, which did not have a British representative for the world. They had the
Boo.
U.S., they had the U.S., Norway, Quebec, and New Zealand. Uh, and so that just had their finale like hours ago as we're recording this. So, of course, I'll have a mini Y Blank 1 for that as well. And Survivor 49 starts in just a few weeks. I will be podcasting and making videos about that one as well. And that will be my 10th anniversary of podcasting, starting with
Woohoo.
that Survivor season. You can find me on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram as at David Bloomberg TV. You can find all my accounts on Linktree/David Bloomberg, or find me directly on Blue Sky as at David Bloomberg.
Great. And you said Survivor 49 is about to begin,
Yes.
but you also mentioned Survivor 50 earlier. Are they
Yes.
already that? Because they're
Oh,
two a
yeah.
year, right?
Yes, they do two a
Yeah.
year, and they do them fairly back to back in the
Whoa,
spring.
okay. Okay.
And they normally don't announce like who's going to be on, but they knew that everyone was going to figure out through the spoiler sites and stuff
Yeah.
who was going to be on 50, since it's like all returning players.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they finally realized if someone's going to get the social media hit for this, it should be us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Much like the Traitors US did. The Traitors
Yeah.
US,
Yeah.
once all those people went out there, they announced who it was, including the owner of the Rob Has a Podcast network over there, which is Rob Sesternino, who Alan mispronounced his name when he did the announcement.
Yay. Well done. And UK celebrity. So we know the whole
Right.
cast list already. Yeah, they probably just couldn't avoid spoilers coming out, so they sort of officially released it. And actually, in a few weeks, there will be a special bonus episode of the podcast where Magica and I work our way through the UK celebrity cast list, because some of the listeners outside of the UK had sent messages asking us to do this because they didn't know who all these
I
people
can't
were.
believe I can't believe you didn't include me in that, just because I know like none of them.
Well, so this when I say people sent messages, actually it was David. David
Yeah.
said, Matthew, please tell me who these people are. I have no idea who the hell anyone is. Uh, now, to make sure you're up to date with the podcast and the Traitors and any other shows the podcast may end up covering, you can follow on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at the Trader Podcast. You can leave comments on those places. You can DM me. You can leave comments and interact with other listeners. You can also email me at thetradarpodcast@gmail.com. Nice messages, I should say. And if you want to be on the podcast yourself and have your voice heard, you can leave a voice message, a voice note, really easily at memo.fm/thetradarpodcast. And wherever you're listening, whatever platform it is, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, YouTube, it's really, really helpful if you can subscribe or follow or leave a nice review or a star rating. And finally, if you've been listening and enjoying the podcast and you want to make sure that we keep it going, you could help by visiting the coffee.com page. That's ko-fi.com/Matthew Keeley. That link is in the episode description. And I have to say thank you to Harry. Harry is a long time listener to the podcast, and Harry put in a lovely, really, really generous donation this week. So thank you so much, Harry. And like I said, one-off donation. You don't need to subscribe to anything. You're not suddenly going to have money disappearing from your bank account every month. You can do that, but you can just do it one time, whatever you feel you want to help with. So the next few episodes of the podcast for Traitors Ireland hopefully will be available just a little sooner after each episode is broadcast. I had a technical hitch this week, which delayed episode 2 a little bit. If you watched it on YouTube, you will sort of maybe have figured that out. And, it's tricky doing this between a full-time job and arranging with my guests, especially across time zones like David. So hopefully it's always worth the wait. Until episode 4, keep us on your radar and adios, amigo.
Stay traitorous.